How you doing, everyone? It's Kevin. I'm back with another video. We got our saw all ready to go out and do a little bit of cutting. And today's video, I just want to do a small video on how to actually just the basics of cutting wood, like a fallen tree, a tree that's already fell down and you want to cut it up for firewood or just to get it out of your yard. I'm going to show you the basics of using the chainsaw. So let's get to it. Alright, today I'm going to be using the 450 Husqvarna's chainsaw. I found these to be pretty good chainsaws and I've been using them for years, so I don't have much trouble with them, so it's a good saw. I'm sitting on the tree that I'm going to be showing you a little bit about how to cut up, because we have quite a few different scenarios here that I can show you how to keep yourself out of trouble. So let's get to it. I'll show you the first one. Now, if you notice, this big tree right here uprooted. It uprooted from over here. The tree roots just got rotten. Tree got old, and it uprooted, and it just fell right down through there. But what it did when it fell is it took a couple more trees with it. You got one there, it pulled it part way out of the ground, and then we got one little one up there on the top that it didn't pull out of the ground. It's still in the ground. Come up a little bit, you can see it's right beside that one. But this is a good place to start, because you know, when you first come up to a tree, you just don't start whacking on it. You have to look at the tree and see how they're bent. And you see that one on the top, it's like a banana. And as you can see right here, right in this area here, we got a crack. So that's telling me that there's up pressure on this tree right here. So if we was to cut right in here, this tree may spring up. And if you're standing over top of it, it's going to hit you in the face. So that's a kind of tree I don't really like to cut very much. But I'm going to show you how to cut it out of there, hopefully without getting smacked in the face. And this one here, I don't think the bottom one, this one right here on the bottom, I don't think there's much pressure on it. It looks pretty dead anyhow. It's just that one up there is the one I'm worried about. Right there. So, what would I do? I have to think about this before I cut it, because I don't want to get smacked in the face with it. So what I may do is come up here, cut a little bit of this top out of here first. Maybe cut a little top. Or what I could do is take this limb off. And if I take this limb off of there, it's pretty heavy. It may not spring as much. But there's always, you have to think before you cut. What I'm trying to tell you is, if you just go out there and cut, you're going to end up hurt. Especially in these type of situations here. So let's see what we could do to get this thing off of there. I might just see if I can get it to spring to show you how much pressure's in it. So we're going to cut this, and this is very dangerous cutting when there's pressure on a limb like that. So we're going to go ahead and cut this, and I'll just show you how much pressure is on it. I mean, it looks like there's pressure because I have a crack right here, so. Okay, it had a little bit of pressure, but you notice when I cut it really slow. That way it wouldn't fling up, or it would just crack before it actually broke all the way loose. So, all right, that's one area that just you got to be very careful with when you're cutting them ones that are bowed like that. Now, any limb like this one right here, this limb right here is a great limb just to go ahead and cut into firewood. I go all the way out here at the end, about right in here, and start making firewood. All the way back on it. It's up off the ground. It's not going to hurt your back bending over. It's a good way to start cutting, right there. that was pretty simple and straightforward right there. That's easy stuff there. Okay, now when we look at this limb on the bottom right here, this big one, this is the one limb that came off of that trunk down there. Now, it's actually touching the ground up in there. And then down here in the middle, it's not touching the ground. Then up there, it's touching the ground again. So, being that it's touching the ground on both ends, you're going to have pressure going downward on this piece right here. This piece is going to be pushing down. So, you could basically start your cut at the top and go down just a little bit. Then take your saw from underneath and then start coming up. And that should break this limb off. It should get it off of there, because if you go straight down, you're going to get your saw cut, or your blade's going to get stuck in there, and then you're going to have another saw help you get it out. So let me show you how we'll cut this one with the down pressure on it, touching on both ends. Okay, as you see, we started on the top, and after we got some of it cut, we didn't cut very far. And as soon as we got what we wanted cut, then we started on from the bottom and dropped it off. Now, we're okay to start cutting firewood. Okay, here's our next limb that we got sticking off of here. And it goes all the way up. The top one is the one we're looking at. Goes all the way up there and hits the ground up there. It's not that bad. I don't think there will be a lot of pressure on it. But we have to think that the tree, if that trunk down there swings, if I was to start cutting on this and it break loose, it may go that direction. And the reason why is because there's no limbs touching the ground up through here. So that might have enough weight on it to push it up the hill. And that might not be a good thing if you was standing on that side. So we're going to give it a try and see if we can get that limb and see exactly what happens to that limb when we cut it. I believe it may go up the hill. If it has enough weight on it, it'll go up the hill. So in this situation, I'm going to make sure my feet are clear from any logs or anything in case I have to run and get out of its way. So I'm going to cut it right in here and we'll see what happens. It may not turn. It may not turn. But I'm not going to take any chances standing on the other side of this thing and it falling on us. Now, I noticed when I did that, I'd seen the tree come up and this gap got bigger. So actually that tree looks like it's going to come up. So I have to be really careful. I don't think it's going to go up very far, but I do believe it's going to come up. Okay, we cut loose right there. So we're loose from there. What we'll do is we'll make another cut up here and see if we can get it to fall. Okay, now we got it to fall. Now's when we can start making firewood out of it. Because as you can see, this whole limb now is up off the ground and it's ready to be cut into firewood. Actually, that one is too. But when we get to that little tree, it's laying against it. Gotta watch because it's going to drop. Got that far down. I'll just push it off. Now this tree here, we could just push it off too. It's down on the ground. The best place to have them trees are on the ground. Okay, now what I've done here, I just cut a chunk out of this tree so we can cut it up into firewood. Kind of an example of a tree that's laying pretty much flat on the ground. One thing you have to watch is where the tree was laying on the ground, you get dirt. And that dirt actually will dull your saw. It's got sand in it. And what's sandpaper made out of? Sand. So one thing about it, you're not going to be able to get away with that completely. You're still going to get that dirt in there. But what I want to do is show you how to cut a tree that's laying on the ground that is pretty hard to roll over. Say that it was going up a road. And one of the worst things you can do is get your chainsaw blade in the dirt. You don't want to hit the dirt at all. So, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my chainsaw and I'm going to cut as far down through here as I can without touching any dirt on either side. And I'm going to do my cuts all the way up through there, however many I want. Now that I got it to that point there, I'm just going to roll it over until the cuts are on the top now. And then I can cut from the bottom side up or the top side down. Alright, so we're getting some pretty good firewood here. One thing you have to be really careful with is using the very tip of your saw. When you use the very tip of the saw, it wants to get a kickback. And that's why they have this here. This is supposed to lock your blade, which it does. That's why it has, that's for kickback. If that tip hits, it's going to come back and hopefully your arm will push this up. Stop you from getting hit in the face. Okay, the first cut here I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how not to cut this tree. Do not cut from this end. You do not want to cut like that or up like that. Make sure your saw goes all the way across the tree and all the way down through. That's the way to cut. Do not cut with your tip of your blade on nothing. Always take your blade all the way through. The tip of the blades, if you do that tip, that's when it's going to come back and kick you in the face. And you don't want that. Okay, now I know you guys see me out here not wearing safety glasses. I'm just wearing my regular glasses, but what you got to do understand is these chips fly everywhere and you will get them in your eyes. Probably be best to have a nice set of safety glasses or one of them shields that come over your face to keep that stuff from hitting you in the face. Gloves, if you can wear them, a pair of gloves would be nice. Steel-toed boots is probably a good thing too, because when these fall and they hit your foot and you're wearing a pair of sneakers, they can hurt. That's a few things about cutting a fallen tree. Beware of your surroundings. If you have a tree that's hung up in another tree and you're wanting to cut the tree down, check for vines, because those vines, when you cut that tree, may end up pulling another tree down on top of you. So you have to always look for vines and that type of stuff up in a tree. And if you're not good at cutting down a tree, you don't really know how, I'd suggest not doing it. It's not worth getting hurt over. These trees are like a puzzle. Believe it or not, every tree is different. You might have a tree that will snap really easy. You might just barely touch it with the chainsaw and it would snap. And that's when people get hurt, if you don't know exactly where the pressure points are on these trees when they're on the ground or laying in another tree. So try to set and figure them out before you just go whacking them up, because there is ways of getting around those pressure points to where you can actually cut the tree up and still be safe. I had a good friend of mine that actually cut wood for years and years, and he had a cherry tree that was down on the ground, and not thinking anything about it, he cut the tree and he didn't realize that the pressure was pushing towards him, and he went to cut the tree and it snapped and broke his leg, and now he's got steel pins in that leg. So you just have to know, you have to learn the trees. Start out with small trees, you know, cutting up little trees that are already on the ground, and then you'll learn. But there is going to be times you're going to get your saw caught in a tree, and you're going to need another chainsaw to get it out. So that's I always carry 2 chainsaws with me in case I do, and I still get chains stuck, you know, the bar stuck in a tree. So you just have to be careful and know what you're doing. That's all there is to it. So I'd like to tell everybody thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave me thumbs up, thumbs down, or a comment if you'd like. I'll answer the comments to the best of my knowledge. So, and cut safe. Thanks for watching.